Hi, this is Steve Wiedemann. I'm a franchise and multi-location SEO strategist, and we're going to be talking a bit about answer engine optimization, or AEO. A lot of what you're going to see is theory and based on research and experimentations and just general observations. This could be completely askew for how large language models like ChatGPT are actually displaying results and why, but in our tests, everything that we've noticed seems to correlate with some of the findings and strategies that we've been trying. So we're going to jump in and talk a little bit about AEO. This does different from what you've probably heard as other terms like GEO, generative engine optimization, where our job is really to make sure that the LLMs can access our websites and retrieve our content. And when I say retrieve our content, it's not just being able to crawl our page and find the words and phrases and so forth. It's being able to write clearly in an answer format for very obvious, simple ways for these LLMs to capture our content. Instead of being vague and really using longer sentences and fluff, we're being very specific and concise, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. Where AEO, we're really interested in being more of the answer, the actual result that's recommended by the LLMs. You might have also heard the acronym AIO, which is Artificial Intelligence Optimization, or AI Optimization, which is really more of a broader term to describe both GEO and AEO. You'll see it more commonly in tools like SEMrush, where you're going to track and monitor your visibility within these LLMs. The last one, which you're probably extremely familiar with, is SEO, or Search Engine Optimization. That is the broader discipline of making sure that we appear regardless of where somebody searches, in Google, in Bing, in YouTube, in LLMs, in social media, in voice search, in Siri, in Gemini, anywhere somebody is performing a search. Our job from an SEO standpoint is to optimize to make sure that we appear in those searches. All right, let's get going. In this deck, we're going to go through semantic triples. We're going to talk about this term that's been around for years, but with the emergence of AI and LLMs has become more of an important term for us, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the upcoming slides. Questions and prompts that users will use where we should be showing up as the answer. We're going to talk about how to find those and how to create them and how to track them. And then the destinations for where we want our visibility to be off of our website to ensure that the LLMs and search engines can find us enough on pages that use those words and phrases that are important to us. All right, let's get into it. As I mentioned, unlike generative engine optimization, we're talking about answer engine optimization in this particular presentation. This plan focuses on building the semantic triples, the statements that we're going to talk about, and converting them into questions and prompts, and then building a plan of action to have those statements mentioned across the web. Really quickly, the very first thing that should be the most obvious that a lot of brands are creating anxiety and uncertainty about is where LLMs get their information from. And I want to make it clear that at this time in April or so of 2026, where it looks for recent information when you perform a search, such as find me a place to eat in Denver that serves tacos and margs, it's searching the web. And for ChatGPT, at this point, it's using Bing. The obvious for Gemini is Google. So it's going to search the web to find information, but it's not just going to list listings in blue links and black text the same way a traditional search engine does. Instead, LLMs appear to be modifying the information found within the search by looking at citation prominence, right? Those statements about who we are. It's also looking at recency because it's trying to find the most current up-to-date information. Sometimes search results can have information that's 2 decades old. I still have pages from 2009 that show up on the first page of Google. And personalization being your preferences in the past and what it's inferred about who you are, what you like and what you dislike. that personalization can have a pretty significant impact on the results it's shared. Unfortunately, a lot of my results come back with recommendations on how to optimize things. Like, I don't need to optimize a restaurant that I'm looking for, but sometimes it'll still give me 2 sentences at the end. If you're optimizing for this, here's some steps you can take. I thought it was really kind of humorous. So before presenting their answers and recommendations, they'll go through all those different refinements. And you can see them over here on the right at the bottom. You can see our sources icons, and then the sources come up over here. Yet if you did this search in Google, you're not very likely to find Wanderlog and Three Margaritas Down or destinations that aren't specific locations. This one might be actually. But Wanderlog might not be the #1 search result. It might actually be some brands and some map listings. So again, LLMs take that different approach. We're going to take those search listings, but then we're going to modify them based on what we found in our database and on the web around citations. So don't panic. As long as you're doing traditional search, you don't need to put a ton of energy into AEO. It can help, it can be a bonus, it can be extra points, but it's not going to be the deciding factor on whether you show up or not. And in fact, the LLMs have made it very clear out the gate that they're very uninterested in SEO, and they're trying to create results that can't be optimized in the same traditional format as search engines. But they also realized that their initial training models just did not have enough sufficient data, so they had to partner with search engines. So we're kind of back to traditional SEO. Semantic triples. As I mentioned earlier, this is a bit of the untold secret of answer engine optimization, and I'll show you why here in a minute. What exactly are they? Very simple. It's just a subject, a predicate, and an object. In other words, Fuzzy's Taco Shop serves Baja-style tacos. Right? Those are those 3 elements. Put them all together, and you've got, hey, Fuzzy's Taco Shop serves Baja-style tacos. That's an answer. So if somebody were to do a prompt of find me a taco shop that serves Baja-style tacos, and this particular semantic triple is found across the web in reviews, in mentions, in forums and discussions, in press releases. All of those citations basically accumulate into enough confidence for an LLM to present Fuzzies as an answer. And we can even modify this into more of a statement than a semantic triple by adding in modifiers such as the best or in the city that we actually have the restaurant in. It's still in the same sentence. It'll still get picked up in the same manner. Again, this is new technology. This is strings. This is things, not strings, as Google's made it clear over the years. And AI engines have also been able to confirm this, that it's really about understanding specific entities. The entity here is Fuzzy's Taco Shop, Baja-style tacos, Denver. The adjectives, best over here, can describe the tacos, and the more that the occurrence of this particular statement shows up across the web, the higher the particular listing will rank. And we tested this, by the way. There's a restaurant in Buena Park called Good Buns. They were a brand new restaurant. They didn't appear anywhere. And we went out, enjoyed probably the best smash burger we'd have ever had. And while we were there, we decided, hey, let's do a test. Let's take some pictures. Let's do a little video. And then in the review of the business, we started with Good Buns has the best burgers in Buena Park. Not 2 days later did we notice in the Ask Maps AI feature of Google Maps that Good Buns was actually the #1 search result. And a lot of the words we used in our review were found in its recommendation. We thought that was super fascinating, the fact that we were able to amplify visibility for a brand relatively quickly by just adding a review that included a semantic triple. Well, how do we find all these semantic triples? Well, the good news is you don't have to do it manually. You don't have to figure out and go through every product that you have and every service that you offer. Most of the time, you've got all that information within the pages on your website. So you can ask the LLMs to basically crawl your sitemap and then to give you 100 to 125 ideas. Giovanni over at Visto, Get Visto, is a cool platform that enables you to really work on your LLM visibility. His team did some research and found that tracking or starting with more than 100 to 125 ideas can be exhausting and more than what a team can work on at one given time. It's almost like you're saying, hey, let's write 100 pages, even though we might not necessarily be writing those many pages. So we start with a very small group of these prompts and questions so that it's manageable. And then we basically refresh and do it all over again. And then lastly, manually review and edit the final list, because there are hallucinations still in LLMs, and we want to make sure that what we're working on actually makes sense for the brand. So here's my prompt over here on the right. You can see analyze Fuzzy's Taco Shop pages from their XML file here. Research the web, including business reviews, food reviews, and reasons why customers enjoy Fuzzy's Taco Shop. And then generate a list of 125 of the most relevant semantic triples. And then I give an example. This is all part of your normal prompt engineering that you should already be doing. Fuzzy's Taco Shop serves margaritas. Fuzzy's Taco Shop offers happy hour. Then I want you to sort the list by weighted score of relevance and deliverability for consumers who are unfamiliar with the brand. So it's basically going to search the web for all the information it can find around Fuzzy's, combine it with the list of pages that we have on the website, and then score and sort that list by importance. And you can see a snippet of that 125 list here at the top. Fuzzy's Taco Shop serves Baja-style tacos. They offer breakfast all day. They serve margaritas. They offer happy hour. Talk about being on brand. I didn't make any of this up. The LLM pulled it out for me. The tool I like to use a little bit more than ChatGPT is Perplexity Computer, but it comes with a cost, where ChatGPT, for the most part, is free. Here are some of the tools that you can explore. You could try one of these. You could use all of them and combine your results if you want to get really aggressive or really creative. So now we turn those semantic triples into prompts. Very simple. We ask the LLM to do that work for us. Convert the semantic triples into prompts, starting with the text, find places to eat. For example, there's the example again. Find places to eat near me that serve burritos, right? And then here's a snippet of those converted prompts. Find places to eat near me that serve Baja tacos. These are conversational queries, oftentimes much longer than this, but those specific intents that these shorter phrases have is enough to get them started as they start to look at the longer prompts that we're making through some of our voice search. Really kind of cool. And then make a copy of this as well. We can also convert them into questions. And again, having the LLM manage the conversion. Actually, let's convert the semantic triples into questions instead. Start each question with what places to eat near me, right? Or something like that. What places to eat near me serve burritos? So there's the actual question, the full question. Serve is, of course, what we talked about earlier in the semantic triple part, and then we have our object over here. And it did it exactly the same way it did our prompts. What places to eat near me serve Baja-style tacos? And that's a perfect match for, hey, Fuzzy's Taco Shop serves Baja-style tacos. The perfect answer. And that semantic triple is going to be our key to success based on what we've learned of LLM so far. Now you can create a spreadsheet, and I know some folks don't have Microsoft Excel, so you might have it convert it to a CSV file and then upload to Google Drive. So our prompt for the LLM is, hey, download all three of these lists to Excel. Column 1, prompts. Column 2, questions. And column 3, semantic triples. And then it does the work. It actually puts that spreadsheet together, and now you've got the foundation to have a really solid LLM tracking. Now, we're still only working with 125 prompts, right? I mean, even though we've got a question version and a prompt version that we might use for tracking purposes, from a semantic triple standpoint and from a goal standpoint, we're still only working with 125 rows. And here's what those rows might look like as you start putting it together. Now, again, this is a manual process right here. You don't have to do this manually. You can absolutely vibe code your way to create some solution that helps automate this process, or look for solutions that are getting close to what you need. I like this manual version in the beginning because it helps us become more efficient and understand what's going on in the background. in the same way that I spent years learning HTML, so that now I can troubleshoot and look at source code and understand a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes. So we have a few different areas that we're going to pay attention to as we think about our visibility of these semantic triples. The first is the most obvious, and that's on our web page. We want that semantic triple to be there, and a simple way to find out if it is there is using the cite operator in a Google search. And that is CITE : and then our website, in this case fuzziestacoshop.com, no spaces. And then you create a space and you put in quotes this semantic triple. And if you don't see that phrase mentioned on the website, there's a content opportunity. Let's get into the most relevant page on the website and make sure that one of our sentences starts out with Fuzzy's Taco Shop serves Baja style tacos. And there's no reason you can't put a comma in there and continue this, so it's not just a super short sentence. Or expand upon it as we did in the statements, but I like to get that verbatim in there just to have confidence in knowing that I've handled that statement. So the web page is number one. Social media is going to be next, and there's not really going to be a column for it. There's going to be multiple columns for it, or in your system, multiple fields. So in social media, we're talking about everything from TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and X and Threads and LinkedIn, right? All the places that we have access to where we can have our semantic triple represented. Next is going to be forums. So forums are going to be maybe restaurant related forums. Maybe it's going to be in a forum related to the city, right? Any kind of forums that are out there where we can have that semantic triple mentioned is going to be a win for us. What we're going to want to do is monitor, and I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. Then discussions, right? You've got your Reddit, and you've got your Quora, and you've got just a ton of places that are out on the web where people are having discussions where we can contribute, or our customers can contribute. Technically, our competitors can too, I suppose. But discussion boards are going to be important. Reddit moderators are figuring this out, and they're identifying it, and they're flagging it, and they're sending all sorts of bad vibes our way as we're trying to build our visibility. When somebody asks, hey, is there a really good place that serves tacos in Denver? If they see Fuzzy's Tacos post a reply to it, they're going to flag it and it's going to go away. And that's why it's important to have our customers in there doing that work for us. Press releases are also a fantastic way to syndicate one piece of content across thousands of destinations. This stems back to the early 2000s when press releases was actually a method for increasing traditional search. That is, until search engines discovered that content was very redundant and eventually omitted all but maybe 2 or 3 instances of that syndication. It also was a tool we used to get links. Hey, we got 200 links in one click. But then, of course, the Google Penguin update came along and started penalizing for explicit anchor text and using press releases as a link building tactic to game search results. So now we're back in 2026 and we're back to press releases, but now we're not focused on explicit anchor text. Instead, we're focused on trying to get our semantic triples represented as many times as we can, because at this moment, there isn't any, and there probably isn't going to be a penalty for talking about your brand in a press release, because it's just something normal brands do every single day. Image search. We've got in image search, we've got Pinterest, and we've got Flickr, and we've got several other destinations where you can share images and you can describe those images using these semantic triples. And the last one is video search over here. YouTube being one of the most searched sites on the internet, as well as Vimeo and other places that you might be able to find video. TikTok, even though it's social media, also might be considered video, since all the content there is video in nature. So same precedence here. We can use captions, we can use transcripts, and we can use the description of the video in that field as a place to drop our semantic triple. So these are the different broader areas that you're going to build out into your content production framework or content refresh framework to make sure these phrases are represented in many places as we possibly can. You'll want to develop workflows to make it a little bit more simpler as you're growing your citations. Up here you can see logos of example sites that we want to drop those statements. Consider the following starting points. Coordinate with the content team to make sure our statement is represented on the website. Give hints to customers and online feedback. I got a new idea I came up with recently I'll show you in a minute. Coordination with the social media team. Maybe 1 out of 10 of all the humorous and fun posts that they're doing, they can slide in a semantic triple into the actual description field or into a comment field when it makes sense to. Coordination with public relations team for those press releases. Influencer marketing. There's so many influencers out there now and micro influencers. Collaborations and user-generated content. There are user-generated content networks where you can ask people, hey, could you check out our product or service and talk about it if you find it interesting? It's a great way to expose the brand and get a lot of folks out there talking about us. Just make the prerequisite, hey, we'd love it if you thought our product was great, that you would say our product is great in this narrative. And then assign resources to listen and respond to Reddit, to Quora, to the internet. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do that, which we'll talk about here in a moment. Here's an example of a Reddit thread. This particular one is archived, but you can see where Fuzzies was mentioned, and the brand had an opportunity to respond and say, yes, in fact, we are Fuzzies. People come to Fuzzies for our tacos and margaritas. Come on in, we'd love to show off. Here was my fun creative idea. What if we started to talk to our employees and our team members and friends and family of the brand, and we made the goal of getting our semantic triples as prominent as possible as an embodiment of the brand and our culture? What if we put t-shirts together that said, Joe's Coffee is the best place in San Diego for, and then ... or put an underline to say you fill in the blank, and then put some logos on here. Maybe it's Yelp and TripAdvisor and Reddit. And Google's important, but we'll do that in our normal loyalty programs and receipt programs. But we want to start thinking a little bit outside of the Google bubble. And this is a great way to kind of get something started. This is a creative idea. Of course, you're going to come up with your own, but this one hopefully will inspire those. Here's an example. I did a press release. This was a really exciting moment for our brand. And I thought, well, why not leverage this opportunity to include a little bit of that semantic triple language? We provide strategic consulting and multi-location and franchise search engine optimization, SEO operations, and digital visibility planning for brands, franchises, yada, 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 yada. And so the prompt here is, hey, who should I trust for modern, because I do a lot of this AEO, GEO work now, multi-location and franchise strategy in 2026. This is me trying my best to stay relevant, despite the fact that I'm turning 50 this year. So who I trust, this is what the LLM came up with, and bam, I'm right there. I stand out because I work on multi-location SEO, structured data and entities, AI search, AIO, and GEO, which is represented in the word modern, right? And it just happens to be a perfect fit for this. So I did the press release, and sure enough, for multiple queries, I'll show up. Sometimes I'll show up among my peers like Mike Blumenthal, and Joy Hawkins, and Andrew Shotlin, and Greg Sterling, and David Mim, if I'm lucky. These are the gods of local, and I'm more of a corporate enterprise guy. And this is a great way to help track your specific citations and your semantic triples. Is do a search for the brand. In this case, I'm the brand. Do a search for the object. In this case, it's franchise. Could be franchise SEO as well, but sometimes it's written as multi-location SEO and franchise and multi-location SEO. So it wouldn't be an exact phrase match. So I just use franchise. And then I got rid of my sites from the search results so that my sites don't influence the number of instances. And this might be the metric you track. Maybe right now it's 1640 and my goal is to get to 2000 by the end of the year. So you really shouldn't invest in marketing if you don't plan to measure its effectiveness. You decide what it is you want to measure. And some of the tools that are out there do a pretty decent job, but they're really, really, really expensive. So as this evolves, you may eventually evolve to using a platform. For the time being, you could probably just use a Google Sheet. And you can look at those prompts and once a month kind of take a glance and run a prompt that says, don't use my personalization or my history or my location, and then answer this prompt or answer this question. See how many times we're recommended by the LLM. See how many times we're cited as a source. This happens a lot in multi-location brands where we have an intent or specialty page like takeout or delivery or specials underneath each location. For Meineke, they've got oil change and muffler repair underneath each location. So if that location intent page is cited as a source, jot it down. And then our citations, which I just showed you how to do. You can track those citations, and we can track our traffic using GA4. Just go to the Explore tool and drop in a filter that filters all the referral traffic from all the ChatGPTs and Claudes and so on and so forth. And we can track this over time and even create some specific goals. Here are tools that you can use to actually track and monitor. Google Alerts is free. It's a great way to immediately know when something gets indexed in Google that mentions your name. But not every page is going to get indexed, and some of them might be difficult for search engines to even find, but are still accessible for LLMs. So brand mentions, Brand24, Hootsuite, and Sprout Social are tools that you can use that are pay to use or pay to play tools that might be an appropriate one for your brand if this is a priority in your business this year, which it shouldn't be a super urgent one because, again, we're using traditional search still as the foundation. And then we just simply rinse and repeat. This isn't a set it, forget it. SEO in general is not a set it, forget it. It's an initiative. It's something that we continue to work toward and get better at because our competitors aren't going to stop re-optimizing their pages as they learn more about how pages perform. We work toward making the visibility of these semantic triples and the expanded statement versions of them part of our holistic marketing culture, as I mentioned. They're an embodiment of how we want our customers to be thinking about us and controlling and influencing the narrative of what they're saying about us. We want to develop those key performance indicators and, when we can, reward some of the milestones that we hit when we do reach them. And that's basically our current exploration of answer engine optimization, what we've learned and how we can get started with it, how we can start finding the phrases we want to be using across the web and on our website, how we can convert them into questions and prompts that people will use in conversational searches, and how we can measure and monitor our success in improving our visibility for those statements that are going to play a significant role in long-term LLM visibility. My name is Steve Wiedemann, aka SEO Steve. I hope you found this video useful, and I am so excited to get your feedback. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.